Morning Express, thank you so much for keeping keeping me company, that is. And remember the Twitter poll question that we were asking you earlier? That's exactly what we want to talk about right now for about 15 minutes. So let us quickly remind you, in case for the viewers who are just joining us, we are asking you, so I hope you jump onto social media. Do you think Kenyans have strong family values? Do you think Kenyans have strong family values? There you go. Do you think Kenyans have strong family values? Tweet us at KTN News, at Zinzi_K. Use the hashtag Morning Express, because that's your ticket into the conversation. And that is what we'll be talking about this morning. I have Raymond Mtura, who is the chairman of the Program for Family Development. Raymond, thank you so much for making time this morning.
Thank you.
So let's jump straight into this. And I'll ask you what I've just asked our audience. Do you think that Kenyans have strong family values?
Yes, they do. And you will probably have to look at it in two ways.
I sense a but coming.
Yeah, because of modernity, as they call it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, African tradition supported family values sincerely. Yeah, we had, and you know, one of the reasons it was able to give family values from generation to generation is because of the extended family support system.
Right.
Yeah, you had uncles, aunties, grandparents, etc. And these people, because of having lived for years, oozed with wisdom, yeah? And they were able to give this wisdom to their children. So now we have a generation who don't have the extended family support system.
All right.
And what is going on is that, whereas the parents, many of the parents today, were able to benefit from the extended family support, you could say, benefits, we have a challenge, because then you don't have it, and the children now are a bit lost.
But I mean, there are some African families that still keep, especially the extended family, very close. Unlike, like you said, the Western families where you find, for example, the elderlies are taken to an elderly home. People really don't associate much with extended families. Here within the African society, despite modernization and the influence of the Western world, we're still okay.
Yeah, but you see, what happens with values? How do you inculcate values? You inculcate values by example. So if you look at your typical family, even the ones that are really, you know, from a rural perspective, there is a bit of a disconnect between what you would call the nuclear family and the extended family. Either a disconnect physically, meaning they are not together, or just, you know, informally. Yeah, that, you know, people who have gone to school probably sometimes look down on the elderly and things like that. So we are losing the possibility of getting these, you know, ideas coming from people who have had experience of looking at many situations in family life.
All right.
So it is a bit of a crisis at the moment. And one of the challenges, I mean, speaking to many parents, is that they say, no, I turned out well. We have family courses, and people say, why should I go for a family course? I mean, we turned out well. We didn't have to. Our parents never went to a class to be told, look, parenting is this, marriage is this. We turned out well. So
demystify that for us then. Why should parents go for parental? You said parental classes?
Yes, parental classes.
Why should parents then go for parental? Demystify that for us.
One, because one of the challenges is that people are not confronting the issues around, you know, how should I be a good parent, or how should I be a good spouse? Because you no longer have it coming out of what would have been the extended family support in the past.
Right.
Because if somebody messed up in the village, the elders came up and said, look, this guy messed up, summon him, let the elders speak to him.
Okay.
These days, you don't have that opportunity, and therefore, you're kind of blank as a parent or as a family person. Yeah, you don't know where to go. So what we are trying to do is to say, look, let's have people, you could say, reflect, because these are also not things that people don't know. Let them have a moment to reflect.
Raymond, what are some of the challenges that you have seen that families are facing here in Kenya more so, given within the 21st century? What unique challenges? Okay,
the biggest one, which is a bit high up there, is that there's a lack of unity between the spouses. People are not together. They are not, you know, pulling towards the same direction.
So you find a lot of families are one-parent-based families.
Well, that's one, but even physically, there could be there could be two parents, I mean, mother and father, but they're not on the same wavelength. Okay? People wake up in the morning and disappear.
So disunity?
Disunity. The second one, of course, is just modern life. Yeah, we've had, you could say, so many options that can occupy children. A good example is what we are seeing, the phone. And chat messaging and all these things can occupy somebody a whole day.
Yeah.
So you have a disconnect that is, you could say, motivated by the modern world.
I'm glad you said that, because actually yesterday on Tech Central here on Money Express, one of the things that we were talking about is digital literacy for kids and how parents should be the ones to tell their parents, yes, I'm giving you a phone because, first of all, we're living in a very unique day and age. But despite the fact that I'm giving you this phone, there comes with rules and regulations.
Yes, of course.
Do not be the cyberbully, but also do not be cyberbullied.
Yes.
So those unique challenges that parents within the modern day world need to start addressing, like you said, modernization, this issue of the phone and unity.
Unity, the phone, yeah. You see, the thing about the phone is, you know, people oversimplify things, but you see, the phone is the whole world in your hands.
Yes.
Now, would you allow the whole world in your home?
No.
You say, okay, I need people who probably have the same values. I need people who, you know, we are on the same wavelength. You don't just allow the whole world. And we are allowing the whole world to very, you know, innocent people. So before you know it, a child in your own home could be exposed to all manner of things. So it's very important that parents are able to reflect about this and say, look, okay, if we are going to allow the whole world into the home, using the same criteria of the home, that I won't allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry into my home, what criteria should I have on the phone? What criteria? What is the time? What kind of things could they visit? Have I even helped the child to understand what is there? You know, and all of us are still struggling from it, and the addiction that can come out of it. So, you know, these addictions and everyone just being in their little corner, eventually, you know, you're in a family, you're all there in one home, but suddenly you're not together. I am more with people outside than I am with the people inside. Yeah, and you've heard of the jokes, yeah, that, you know, somebody says, look, please bring me tea, and he's sending an SMS or a WhatsApp from the bedroom, you know. It's one big problem, and we need to confront it.
Do we also need to confront the issue that because times are changing, so are family values changing? The reason I say this is that you give the classic example of a village. Back in the day, a child who misbehaves is disciplined by a village. You know, you find an auntie or an uncle or even your neighbor disciplining a child that is not necessarily theirs by blood. In this day and age, even, let's not even talk about an auntie or an uncle or the village. Even you as a parent beating your child, of, you know,
well, first of all, I'll be taken to court. So
exactly, that's the whole issue. You will be taken to court by your child. So do we need to start recognizing that, yes, family values are changing because times are also changing? And then how do we work around that? I don't think the issue is
that families' values are changing. What we will say is the environment is changing. Family values still need to be inculcated. So what we are going to change is how to inculcate them. Because before, and this is a big problem that parents have, to think that we turned out well, things were okay, so somehow things will turn out okay. No, the environment has changed. We didn't have internet before. We had TV VOK that started at 4 p.m. We have TV now 24 hours. Everyone can have their own. We have now what do you call, the digital ones that you can access even the whole world. I mean, these things were not there just a few years ago.
So it's the environment.
It's the environment that has come up with new things. Then parents must adjust and say, look, how then do we do parenting? Traffic jam, for example. I mean, yesterday I was in traffic for 2 hours. You know, these things, and therefore you miss dinner. Therefore, if you don't have dinner, you don't catch up with everyone. You don't know what happened. We have to make new ways of saying, look, how do I do this? Maybe I should leave a bit earlier. Maybe I should stay next to where my office is or where the school of my children is, so that I can be able to go quicker. So we have to look at the environment and say, no, family values have not changed, but we have to inculcate them.
It's a matter of finding new creative ways to make sure the family stays intact. Now, the other thing, Raymond, is that one of the stories that we highlighted this week, especially on the Standard, is that university dorms are being turned into prostitute dens. And a lot of people are saying, first of all, who are we to blame young people when you look at the leaders? Who are we to blame young people when you look at the mentors that are there? Who are we to blame young people when parents are absent? What are your thoughts on that?
And very true. Very, very true. I mean, I have had many interactions with a bunch of friends and even, you know, people I teach sometimes about some of these unmarried people. And they've been able to come and say, look, yes, my parents are not available. Yeah? In fact, this week I had a bit of a debate and they were saying, look, they're not there. Now, this is one of the areas from an environment point that we need to be able to highlight. Now, on one hand, you've talked about role modeling. Okay, role modeling meaning that you cannot blame people who are beginning to have prostitutions in dorms and things like that, because if we look out there, we are seeing a lot of things.
Then what's the way forward? What's the way forward? Because we cannot be telling young people one thing and doing something else different. We can be singing two different tunes. I mean we mean society.
Yeah. I mean, there are many, many way forwards that are already there. I've told you we are doing parenting programs and marriage programs. We have programs for kids. We have programs for teenagers. I know so many other people are doing these things. Simon Bailey has Transforming Men, which is a critical thing.
Yeah, Transformations, yeah.
Transforming Men. Stephen Mukolwe has been running Navigators forever, in this country. There are very many programs that are beginning to tell parents, men, wait a minute. One of the things you have to do as a man, when you say you're a provider, you're your leader, one of the areas you have to lead, straight up, is self-control.
Self-control.
If you don't lead in self-control, and self-control meaning that, if you've married to one wife, you stick to one wife. If you have circumstances of office or politics that require you to eventually go to a place where you'll find other women and things like that, you have to already have thought through it and say, how am I going to manage this? And if you have a challenge, find a way to figure it out with either a good brother or a good son or a pastor or somebody you say, look, I have a problem in this. And one of the things that is there in modernity that, again, is a challenge for men is the whole thing of pornography and all these things that are available. Before, these things were not there. So as a man, if you have to lead, you have to really you have to really work and say, look, how am I going to be self-controlled in this world where there is team building and there is all these meetings that are in the evenings, and for me to get business, I have to network and all these things. You have to think about it as a man.
Wow.
On the other side, on the women, I think they have to try and help us a bit, even in terms of dress, just dress. Because, they say in men, these things are just a switch. Okay, so we have to be able to help the men, and, well, I know this is a controversial topic, especially when you talk about fashion, but I think we need a bit of decency amongst women as well.
As much as we're calling for decency among women, on the other hand, that we also need to call men for proper values.
Yes.
And the reason, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things, this is actually a very hot topic, right? Yeah. You find that society blames women who are inappropriately dressed because they are the ones who cause men to act. But men are not switches. You have a brain. You know how to self-control.
It's true. They're not switches, but I'm telling you that generally in that topic, it can turn into a bit of a switch. Right. So you have to have thought through, because naturally, at a natural level, it's like a switch. But you have, as you're trying to begin saying, you have to have a brain. You have to have thought through it and say, look, I need to be in charge. Yeah. I need to be in charge. And this is one area that I'm saying needs a lot of education. Because before, actually, the other day, somebody was telling me about just the Kikuyu tradition. And he says, look, you are actually, you were trained. And at some point, even before you got married, they brought in another few Wanjikus and some other girls to giggle around and to see how tough you can be in being self-controlled. These things have disappeared and we need to bring them back. Well, if the environment has changed, we have to bring them back in another way.
All right. Raymond, for the households that are currently watching, tell us more about the National Family Promotion and Protection Policy and what you want to see come out of that. Okay,
thank you very much. In 2015, we had the International Day of the Family, which is celebrated every May 15th. It's been there since 1993. This is the 24th year, so next Tuesday we actually have a big celebration in KCCB on the International Day of the Family. So we started participating and working closely with the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. They had a different name before, in trying to coordinate Congress. So in 2015, we had, actually in 2014, we had the first time where the ministry reached to some of the people who are working on the family and asked, look, how can we collaborate in this? So 2014 was the 20th anniversary of the International Year of the Family. And a few people came together. I think it was a low-key, function in Kiambu County, very good, but eventually we started connecting with the ministry. In 2015, the First Lady came for the International Day of the Family in KICC, and at that point we promised as a concept or an idea that we're going to try and come up with a national family policy. So since 2015 to about sometime last year, a bit of election confused this issue, we drafted, and this is a consortium of different people who've been working on this, and we crafted the National Family and Protection Policy.
Right.
So the vision of it is to have happy and stable families. That's the vision of the policy. Then if you go into practical perspective, if you were to look at where is it farmed up into, it is farmed up out of our Article 45 in the Constitution, which says, and I like, Kanjama is one of the gurus in these things, and I like the way he interprets it. He says, we actually are first in putting in the Constitution such a fundamental statement that the family is a fundamental unit of society and a basis for social order. All the chaos we are seeing really has to be fixed by the family. So we, as you could say, focusing, or you could say emphasizing this provision of the Article 45.
Beautiful.
So, and then what do we want to do? We have about 9 areas that we are looking at in terms of saying these are thematic areas around the family and we need certain interventions. Yeah? In marriage, this is the issue and we need interventions. Among them is education. In parenting, there is an issue. We need interventions, okay? In health and family, we need certain intervention. In media, we need, this is a policy issue. So if you look at the National Family Policy, it has all those and it has elaborated what are the interventions that are needed. But one of the outcome, the great outcome, and I'm really looking forward to this, is to come up with a state of the family report every 5 years.
The state of the family report.
Yes, and this is a research. Because you see, all this, Aristotle, who is one of my greatest philosophers, who always used to say, the most universal things are the hardest to grasp because they are very far from the senses. Yeah? So the most universal, family, is very universal, but it is very simple on one hand because it's a very, you and I touch it every day. But precisely because it's very simple, we may decide, look, we don't need to bother about its study. But what we are saying, no. If we are saying, as a country, with our Article 45, that the family is a fundamental unit of society and a basis for social order, and we can see chaos, then we need to be able to look at, different parameters, study them, and come up with a state of the family report.
All right. Raymond, tell me about the event that you will be having.
Okay, so this year, the ministry has organized 4 events. So today there is a First Ladies' Dinner.
Okay.
Okay, the matriarchs, they need to come back and tell us, look, we are the home, we are the homemakers, and we are looking forward to bringing back the home. And I love this. This has been an initiative of Anne Bogwa, who is the chair of the Kenya Christian Professional Forum. Fantastic idea. Let's bring all the First Lady, yeah? And, interrogate and question ourselves and say, how can we be matriarchs yet again? Then next week, on Monday, we have a public forum. The ministry has organized this, a public forum in Kiambu County, just to get people to come and reflect about this. And then on the 15th, which is the International Day of the Family itself, we have a big celebration in KCCB. I'm told by the ministry that the guest of honor is the First Lady again, and we are very grateful for this. So she will be there, and we will have 2 days of interaction and discussions, on various things.
Okay, thank you so much, Raymond.
Thank you.
Raymond Tura, who is the chair program for family development there, helping us understand more so how the family system here in Kenya can be made better. Like he said, it's a matter of the environment and coming up with unique ways in order to tackle that. We're taking a quick break, but when we come back, the Hot Topics crew is here to take a look at the hot topics of the week, so stay with us.